So Billie Jean does this thing where she chops onions wearing some goggles from a Halloween costume.
From science class?
No. But she also wears this like green t-shirt every single time she needs her hair to dry after taking a shower. And I have this video I want to show you that I took earlier today because I thought she looks like Lisan Al'gaib.
She does. She looks like the chosen one.
Yeah. Is that crazy? But that's because when she chops onions, they make her cry so bad.
They get to her, huh?
But isn't that funny?
Oh my gosh. She does look like she's in
Couldn't hear
Dune.
too well because I was, playing music on my phone that loud, but I was pointing at her and yelling, Lisan Al'gaib. Lisan Al'gaib! Anyways, welcome to the Mick and Pat Show. I'm Mick.
I'm Pat.
Yeah, and we got just another good old regular episode for y'all. We just recently wrapped up our East of Eden Dog-Eared Dialogue series, 4 parts there. So if you love that book, go check that out. If you haven't read that book, don't check it out yet. Honestly, save the reviews for as you finish each part of the novel, because we will be in spoiler territory, but I'm pretty proud of it. I thought we did a really good job. I feel like we, definitely had great discussions and points, and there's things that, you found in the literature that I found interesting and, was kind of insightful to me and I hadn't thought of, and I don't know, hopefully vice versa.
Yeah, definitely. The book was full of a lot of common life things, like that, and like we spoke about when we did our breakdown of it, and it's very relatable, but through this kind of crazy story, and so I enjoyed it. I'm wondering what book to read next for us to do.
Yeah, I'm trying to find one. I kind of want to, we did such literary, not capstones, but cornerstones, that maybe it's best to just find another good book we enjoy that's like, I don't know, sci-fi or horror.
That we can do
action.
in like a one-parter. Also,
yeah, and also like it
like,
doesn't have to be like, discussion on like the condition of man. It can just be like, yeah, wasn't that sick?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't that scary? Ooh, what if we read like one of the smut novels that girls like? I'm just kidding. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Dude, Papa Meat, he's a YouTuber for anyone who doesn't know him. His name's Papa Meat. Very, very coarse and vulgar humor, but there's something about him that's kind, This is just something about him that's like very easy to like disregard how vulgar and coarse the joking can be. But he just did a video where he's reacting to essentially all of these reviews from like smut talk and all that from like there's like on TikTok, there's a section that's called book talk. And then out of book talk came smut talk.
Right.
And it's just all these girls talking about like, they're like literally just having AI read these like super vulgar spicy scenes that are like, I mean, like literally like there's no way you can ever pretend it's not just like, literary porn. Yep. Like it's so vulgar. There's like one of the most common ones right now, one of the most popular books is like a crown of quartz and roses or something like that. A crown of cord and thorns.
Yeah.
And
it's a series.
Yeah, it's a series, but like I didn't know it was like freaking, it's a bestiality book. It's a book where like the love scene has to do with like having sex with werewolf guys and like their claws doing stuff. You know what I mean? And I was just like, I know people who read that book. You know what I mean? I'm just like, My God, like, what are you doing, bro?
There's always been like the like paperback romance novel like type like crowd and things, but then like really like, you know, however many years back, like the 50 Shades of Grey thing kind of busted it wide open.
Yeah.
And made it like commonplace and for some reason like commonly acceptable.
Normalization of pornography.
So
I don't care who you are. If I see you reading smut, I'm going to make fun of you. The same way I would make fun of someone who like...
Especially if you're a dude.
I mean, if you're... I think I'm going to make more fun of you as a woman because I think a lot of women think men don't realize what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas, like, we all know what's going on if a guy's headphones aren't in all the way or if they disconnect and we just hear him, like, watching porn. Everyone's like, okay, like, point and laugh at him. But, like, I'm just going to start, like, teasing people about it. Be like, oh, really? You're going to do that here in public?
Yeah. Yeah, like...
That's disgusting. Like, go home. Anyways. But, dude, I don't know. Yeah. What were we talking about? Anyways, go back out of there.
We're talking about dog-eared dialogues.
Yeah, dog-eared dialogues and all that. We won't read literotica. If we do, I'm going to read it out loud.
Yeah.
I'm going to force everybody else to endure it. But there's a couple, like, I don't know, there's a couple books on the docket that I've been wanting to read that I think would be good oneers.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, who knows? Speaking of that, though, and all that being said, you had, what do you want to start with today?
I think that we need to start with
the spider incident.
I think we'll start with the spider incident because I haven't laughed that hard in a long, long time. Yeah,
that wasn't that funny for me, bro.
So, and I don't know, you know, if we both had two very different scenes of what happened. Because last week, leaving the studio,
what the hell is that supposed to mean? Is that supposed to like? Are you saying my experience isn't valid?
Not that it's not valid, just what you were going through and what I witnessed and what was happening was just different. And so,
okay, all right,
you know, like because
I can't wait for you to gaslight me in my trauma.
No, just because I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know like what had happened until
I can't wait for you to be like, and I didn't see any spiders or spider webs.
But leaving you should tell what happened to you.
Okay, well, there's this jankety ass awning over the door to the studio that
I don't
honestly
clean.
Pat should just take a butane torch to and clean up. But it's got so many spider webs in it. You know, it's a classic. Like if you live anywhere in a city where there's awnings going over a doorway and it doesn't get cleaned regularly, if you look up, you just see like it's just filled
generations.
It's filled with decades of dead bugs and spider webs. And spiders chilling in there, and spiders that died and their babies came out and ate them and then made more webs. And like this one even has a giant ass bird nest that like I feel like you should get rid of that just for the bird flu. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm not gonna blame you for the incident, but we were walking out. It's nighttime. We had just finished recording. We're haha laughing. I was looking over my shoulder. Pat is hitting the switch to the lights inside, so they go dark and the only light is the light coming in from outside. And I open the door, and as I'm turning to go out the front of the door, I just see the like blurred out depth of field silhouette of something large right coming towards my face, and I feel the web pull across my eyebrows, my eyelashes, go down like my head, like with my hair, and I feel like something solid. Like it's not just the web, like there's something solid in it that's like hitting my face and bouncing off. And I don't know, bro. I kind of like, next thing I remember is like taking my backpack off and asking you to like comb your hands through my hair and make sure, because all senses in my body just immediately like went in lightning mode, and I felt spiders all over myself.
60 seconds later,
I felt spiders everywhere. Like I was trying to be like, focus. Where is it? Where's the spider? Is it in your shirt? Is it on your pant leg? Is it like, where's it at? And like I was like, it's everywhere. The spiders, they're up my pants. They're in my socks. So I was pretty devastated, and I was freaking out, but I was yelling and cussing. I was shaking my head and blowing, raspberries to try to get the web off my lips and my beard. And, I don't think I screamed or wailed. Like I wasn't like the it wasn't like the like pathetic like it wasn't like anything like that. Like I feel like I handled it very masculine. Like especially for someone who's deathly afraid of spiders. Like I feel like the approach was very like I would borderline say it was heroic. I would borderline be like the way he handled that. Like with his trauma, what a hero!
I was afraid you're about to pull your gun out.
I legit like there was no okay for people who conceal people who carry line of duty, conceal carry, whatever. Like you understand, like there's something that itches in the fear response of your amygdala oblongata. What is it?
Your amygdala?
Not that one, but the medulla oblongata. It's why crocodiles are so angry. But anyways, that response in there, like, it makes you want to reach for a weapon. And, like, your real brain consciousness is like, no, like, my gun is not a proper thing here because that's just a tiny snake or a rat or a spider or that's just the ocean or that's just the heights, like the height of this building. And, like, but, like, I know people I've talked to who are like, yeah, it was really weird. Like, I wanted to grab my gun. Like as a cop, they're like, scaling up something really tall and they got a fear of heights. And they're like, I wanted to grab my gun because I was so scared. And on the heights, like, climbing up or something. And so all I said, I did have that urge to like grab my gun and like, just like for this safety blanket feeling of it. You know what I mean? But
Danny DeVito.
Yeah, I didn't, guys. Don't worry. I didn't draw my gun.
I started blasting.
I did, literally almost did. All right. But anyways, Pat, go ahead and give your opinion, give your perspective. God, I can feel spiders on me right now, dude. I can feel them crawling on my legs right now.
He's checking under the table. So I turn off this light and I just turned into the door and Pat's just out in the parking lot.
No, Mick. You're
Mick
Pat.
Is. What'd I say?
You said Pat's out in the parking lot.
Oh, yeah. Pat, me. I was walking out the door and Mick is just in the parking lot. He's dropped his backpack at this point. There's a little bit of flailing, a little bit of trying to get something off. I didn't know what had happened. I didn't know that a spider was in the situation. There was just pandemonium of trying to. I knew you were in trouble.
Make the same sounds I did, so that way we all know. Like you'll make the sound, you make the sound, and I won't even contest it.
It's like, get off me! Like, get it! Where is it? Where is it? Like this sort of thing.
It's pretty masculine. That's pretty masculine.
Yeah, and just there was a little bit of doubled over at one point, trying to clear it all out. And and I was like, what's going on? And I came to find out it was a spider. It was in my mouth. It was in my mouth.
I felt the webs go in my mouth, dude. That's why I was going,
and so it was a spectacle, a sight to behold. And I think that here's the deal. I've been in the same situation and it had been a snake, I would have done the same thing.
Really? Because you just don't strike me as snake guy because you deal with snakes all the time.
Well, that's the thing is I rarely deal. Well, I deal with like being in crawl spaces. Yes, snakes. But you know what I deal with every day in crawl spaces?
Spiders.
Lots of spiders. Like the all whatever, like bare hand kill Black Widow. Like just like we just like and like even in a dark crawl space as you're going, it is like Shelob's lair, and you're just like feeling the webs across your face.
Dude, no.
We also like the scene in Shrek when they're falling in love and she whips up that web cotton candy. Mm-hmm. We do that a lot. You're in there with like a broomstick, just like by the time you come out, it is like a cotton candy web. So I'm used to that, but the snakes, like even like a little garter snake,
they mess you up?
They mess me up. And once I see them, like I'm sweating the rest of the time I'm in the crawl. I'm scared. I'm like super jumpy. I can't handle it.
That's so weird.
And so it's
I didn't know that. I'll mess with you now.
So the snakes get me.
I'm gonna abuse
you. The spiders don't. And so I can see where that could have been. I could see myself in that same situation. And
except for snakes don't hang out in your awning over your front door.
That's true.
If a snake is dangling down and you're running into it and it's going in your face, you got to get out of the jungle.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, or the South, wherever you are, get out of there. But so I was looking up a few stats on the thing we're talking about. Is arachnophobia. Would you say that is like you? Is that an over diagnosis?
No, dude. It's excessively ridiculous. Like I know. Here's the thing, bro. I can like pick up grasshoppers. I could pick up praying mantis. You know, I could deal with those things. I could like, I don't mind like just straight up clapping my hands on wasp or something like that. Like I will just clap wasp. I'm not afraid of like the bite or pain from them. It's the movement, man. It's the way. You know what it is? It's the way the motherfuckers look at you the whole time. Why they crawl at you? Like no matter where they're going, they looking at you like they're gonna mess you up. And I think that's the big thing.
These aren't spiders? Do they get to you though? The daddy long leg, or is it kind of in the middle for you?
They don't really like. I'll actually. So yeah, like that's the weird thing. I don't know. It's 100% psychological, right? Because tarantulas don't bother me one bit. I've handled tarantulas. Like gently, right? Like I'm not like just going out in the wild and picking them up. Like I see them out crawling across the road, migrating. I'm just gonna leave them be. But like Rosie the tarantula, you know, the pavilion or whatever is fine. And then anything that's like, you know, the cousin or related to the jumping spiders, like
wolf spiders.
No, wolf spiders not cool. Not cool as wolf spiders. Too fast, maybe too skinny. Yeah, I think it's the skinniness of the legs and the joints. You know what I mean? Like how narrow they are. But like the jumping spiders that like, you know, they wear like raindrops for hats. Yeah. Like those guys are chill. And I'll if I see them, I'll go out of my way to help them get to like
cellar spiders that are like you're like a no-go on this.
But see, like even those like are borderline just daddy long legs to me.
Yeah.
And daddy long legs are so like, I don't know, they're like they kind of look like weenies. You know what I mean? They look like the wind blows hard and they fall apart, so they don't bother me that much.
So arachnophobia, defined as it's a noun of extreme or irrational fear of spiders. And some stats for Americans who have it. They say it ranges from 3 to 15%, but a different study says 34%. When they were interviewing some college students, reporting significant fear of spiders. But I wanted to go through these the symptoms of arachnophobia, the physical symptoms of arachnophobia that are similar to anxiety and panic attacks that you might experience.
Okay.
So I'm going to read through the list, and then you just have to say, you know, if this happened to you last Monday night or not. Or in general during your encounters. All right. Number 1, sweating or shaking.
Yes.
Tightness in your chest or a rapid heartbeat.
Yes.
Trouble breathing or breathing fast.
I don't know. Maybe.
Chills or a flushing red hot face.
Yes, 100,000,000%.
A choking feeling.
Maybe choking. More like a coughing. But I think that's because of the web that got in my mouth. It was
in your mouth, yeah. Upset stomach.
I really don't get nausea that much, unless it's like, I do get nausea when it's the like shiny, you know, like the waxy looking spiders. Like they look, if you step on them, they crunch. They're like the same, like they got the same coating as like beetles and those kind of insects. Those things make me nauseous. Yeah. So just because I know they're going to crunch when I squish them.
All right. Then dry mouth.
Oh, yeah. 1,000,000%, dude. Like the worst nicotine dry mouth in the world.
Yeah. And then my favorite one is this last one, which is crying, tantrums, and clinging.
Clinging that's real, dude. Clinging's 100% real. Well, how can you not, though? That's like your immediate knee-jerk reaction to jump and hold on to something. Crying, I don't think...
Never been brought to tears.
I think like the only time I've felt like scared is if someone was like taunting me about it and trying to like hold a spider towards my face.
Right.
But like even then, that's not like tears as much as just like like I won't cry, but my eyes will get watery. Smoke break.
Smoke break.
Hey, Ken, it's Mick, and I've got something important to talk about. We all hope we never find ourselves in a self-defense situation, but life's unpredictable. Enter the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer, an actual credible law firm you can put on retainer for your self-defense needs. For just $35 a month, you get national coverage in all 50 states for criminal and civil legal representation in self-defense situations, complete with a 24/7, 365 toll-free emergency line. That's real legal support when you need it most. What's in the package? Bail bonds, scene cleanup, firearm replacement, even mental health counseling. Plus, 0 fees for a laundry list of defense-related costs like expert witnesses. So support the show and get yourself some peace of mind. Click the link in our show notes or visit our sponsors page to sign up for the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer.
Hey folks, Pat here. If you're like Mick and I, you're a fan of classic tales like Lonesome Dove, Blood Meridian, The Three-Body Problem, and Steinbeck's East of Eden. With Audible, you can dive into these epic stories anytime, anywhere. Sign up for a free month, and your first audiobook is on the house. To start your free trial and support our show, click the link in the show notes or swing by the sponsors page on our website.
Want an awesome website for your podcast? Check out Podpage. We use it for the Mick and Pat show, and it's a game changer. Set it up in minutes, no coding needed. Support the show by using our link to get started. Your podcast deserves a home as great as ours. Podpage, the one-stop solution.
Yeah. And then the other one, I just think a great defining word is a tantrum.
Dude, tantrum? I bet Billie Jean would say it's a tantrum at times.
It was a little tantrumy, but not. Yeah, you got it together. You got it back together. You did have to check your car or something. You had to make sure you were safe in there, but you recovered well.
Thanks, man.
And hey, listen, this is a condition.
It's an illness.
This is nothing to make light of.
All right, but, here's how I've dealt with it in our new digs. Right, I've laid out sticky traps everywhere. They were originally just to see if we had any mice, and we don't have any mice at all. None of the traps have caught anything with bait or anything like that. But these sticky traps have caught, dozens of spiders, big quarter-sized mother truckers, just nasty boys, and most often, of course, in the basement, and then more than anything in the basement bathroom for some reason. I don't know why, but it's like the basement bathroom is where they catch them most of the time.
It's where the water source is, and it's damp and dark down in the basement.
Why would these spiders like damp?
Yeah, they just
doesn't make sense to me.
I know.
But I put the sticky traps on the back side of the toilet, right? So they're behind the toilet because it runs along the wall, and I know if they walk back there, they're done. Like, I don't have to worry about it. But there's been several times now where I'm going down to take a deuce in the privacy of my nice, finished basement bathroom.
Yeah, the poop bathroom.
Yeah, it's got a heater in the ceiling, so it blows like warm air. So it's like it just perfectly acclimates. You can sweat it out if you want. And I have, attached to the whole toilet frame and all that, like the cabinets, not cabinets, but like the shelving wire rack that goes around your toilet and stuff for you to put books on and, bathroom supplies. But on the top rack, I have my bug of salt shotgun.
Gotta be ready.
Yeah, and it's just sitting there loaded with salt because I can just throw my arms up behind me like I'm grabbing to do a pull-up bar and pull myself off the toilet. But instead, I just grab that bug of salt shotgun and pull it down, and it's already ready for me to just aim at whatever spider's crawling out from. Here's the biggest thing. I've seen them crawl out from the bathroom mat and start crawling towards me because I've put my feet on the bathroom mat and they're like, hey, what the hell?
Yeah.
And I've also seen them come out from the shower curtain. Like they're chilling up in there.
Yeah.
And the bug assault shotgun, it's just all spring powered. And it doesn't have really the to finish them in one.
Yeah.
So I usually blast off a couple legs and then I have to pump it again and
Dude,
there was one time where there was like three spiders in one poop session. And I legit was I felt like I felt like Starship Troopers, bro. I felt like I was on Arrakis,
just seasoning the floor.
Yeah, they were just running at me from different directions, and I was like, "Get some, motherfucker!" And like,
oh yeah.
And I was that was the closest I've ever come to getting over my fear because I couldn't do anything. I was immobile. And I was like, they're either gonna kill me on the shitter, or I'm gonna kill them.
Dude, I love a bug assault. Then like.
I really want to get the pistol with CO2 because that thing looks like it can kill cockroaches.
Yeah, that thing really might rip, yeah. And they're great with that shotgun pattern. You can shoot stuff, and then sometimes you got to get in close for the final
Finish
kill.
Off.
Like the other day, I felt like a sharpshooter. I got to fly out of the air. You know?
Oh wow!
You're shooting them while they're flying.
Yeah,
it just feels good.
Yeah,
it makes you feel good inside. Have you shot yourself with it yet? Just to see
Oh yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's definitely like a gun that I would 100% be okay with my kids having for fun.
Oh yeah.
Like even if they shot one another in it, like they were being dumb and shot each other in the eye, I don't think it would do like real damage to the eye.
Yeah, I think the eye would like maybe the eye would be like the only thing you'd be scared of. Yeah.
But like even then, like I don't know. Like my eye's been. I feel like they're a lot worse, and I'm all right.
Nobody calls CPS. I know for a fact that they'll survive a bug assault shot.
Just because they do Nerf to their eyeballs or something?
No, because I popped them in the legs with it once.
Oh yeah,
just to I shot myself first.
Yeah, to let them know.
Yeah, and then we got them.
Dude, that's the rule. That's the rule. Is like they need to know if they're going to use it, what it feels like, so that way they don't just shoot each other.
Yeah. They don't abuse it. Exactly. Which is but the thing with arachnophobia, you may be an advanced human in that, people who don't have it, do they even want to survive?
Yeah.
Are they just,
dummies?
They're smooth brain. They don't want to live because, from best research can tell, that there is some evolutionary string attached to just human survival. It helps humans survive.
It does, but when you think about it, if I'm like Irish and Scottish, like what spiders are from there?
I don't know. They might have some good ones. They might have some good ones because the one stat too was that it's more common. Arachnophobia is more common in European societies.
It's because we killed all the big mother truckers out there. We killed all the big spiders.
Because we don't have to get used to some of like the spiders that are in like Africa or in like South America, big.
Oh yeah,
big old spiders.
And I think maybe that's the difference. Is like in some countries they're just food. Like spiders get big enough that they're just like, oh, now that's on the menu.
Yeah,
and like that changes. They're like, am I afraid of chickens? No. Am I afraid of I'm not afraid of anything that's on the menu, right? But like spiders here in America don't really get big enough to be on the menu, so I'm kind of like, I think they just occupy that area of like, there's no benefit to you for me. Regardless of what people think. I know they eat bugs. All that said, let's hey man, what if we just move on and we don't talk about this anymore?
to a much less scary subject, or maybe not. Which would be, we've talked about it on here a few times. We've gotten to a little bit of the COVID world, talking about, what's going on out there. And everybody's got a different thought about this, that, and the other. But right now, COVID cases are on the rise a little bit. Just kind of your summer flus coming around.
Biden got it.
Biden did get it. It took him out of the race, I think. Might have taken him out. We don't know. Actually, no, I think he did. He appeared publicly. There was a few days there where people weren't sure.
It's kind of weird, though. Like, when they brought him out, I thought it was odd that Jill and Hunter just had to be, holding him over their arms the whole time, over their shoulders. And it was just kind of funny. Every time Biden talked, she, moved his jaw for him. And
she weakened it. Weakened at Bernie's.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for real. But the people are still getting vaccines, getting boosters, getting that it's COVID crazy, gone bro. From them. And,
absolute bonkers.
Kind of regardless of what you maybe think about it, there are just some facts about it as far as how the efficacy of it, and how well it works against, how well it actually serves its purpose. But then with any type of vaccine, there can be complications. There can be health things, even like going to get a flu shot or stuff, like, something weird can happen. But, for the most part, people are fine. But on occasion, they're not fine. And you sent me this article this week. And so, yeah, tell us about this lady, because I think it's a kind of a scary situation.
Yeah, it's super sad. And it's, I don't really get indignant about much. Like, I try to have quite a bit that can just roll off my back. My expression to Billie Jean often is, we just got to be like ducks, let it roll off a duck's back. And like, I can empathize with a lot of things, and I can understand why someone might be angry. And I also just really enjoy arguing, right? I enjoy making a case and like going back and forth and debating things. But a lot of the stuff I argue, I don't actually even care that strongly. Opinion. I just enjoy the craft.
Like which way to put the toilet paper.
Dude, 100%. This legitimately makes my blood boil. Like this, and I think it makes my blood boil because it feels like absolutely unaccountable evil. I cannot. I've been trying to frame it in my mind in a manner that isn't unaccountable evil, and I cannot figure out how you could frame this and justify it from a moral ground. So, all that said, I just want people to know, like, I am pissed if I sound pissed. I'm trying to remain chill about it, but like, I'm super pissed about this.
And it's less about COVID and more about
the government.
It's more about people picking stuff for you one way or the other.
Yep. So Kayla Pollock, I believe it's pronounced Pollock. She's from Ontario, Canada. She's 37. She was a healthy young woman. She was athletic, fitness, kind of enthusiast. And there's images and stuff like that and videos online of her before she got the vaccine, right? Excuse me, but she had one of the boosters. And a result of this booster was a condition that has left her paralyzed from the waist down. And she's in a wheelchair. And this has actually been reported, I think if I remember reading, 770 of these specific conditions have been reported to the Canadian Board of Health. I don't know what the Board of Health is called off the top of my head. It's not like the CDC like we have here, right?
I don't know.
But like, this is a condition, like Pat said, where like it's not impossible for, like, this could happen with almost any vaccine you get, depending on like what's in the vaccine. Like a lot of vaccines, you can have these adverse reactions. It's just that like the odds of this happening when you go to get a flu shot and having this kind of reaction are so small. Like it's not like it's happening every single year to people who get the flu shot, right? And usually they have a lot of pre-existing conditions that might be related, or like they're taking other medication that says don't take live vaccines with this, various things like that. And this is an incident where, it's not just one person, it's not just a dozen, it's not just people on one type of medication, but it's like, 774 people paralyzed, as a reaction to these this wave of boosters. That's mind-boggling to me. That like we're like you have to kind of dig around to try to find these articles and these news, and they're coming out of like Western Standard News. It's a Canadian newspaper. Like this isn't just like no shade at like Eastern publications, but like sometimes I don't really trust what I read on like the Hindu Times. You know what I mean?
Right.
It feels a little bit like he said, she said, but like this is what's coming through here, and this Canadian Board of Health has at times paid out to these claims of complications as a result from the COVID boosters, which I'm like, good. If that happens, if you're having complications due to getting a mandated booster, whether by your work or the government, whatever, like they need to pay out the nose for affecting your life, and they need to cover that. And I've seen reading around that they've paid somewhere in the neighborhood of like $16 million, I think, in complication, like, what's it called?
Hush money?
No, yeah, hush money. But like medical, like damage reimbursement, malpractice reimbursement. And a lot of these are like, they're all mRNA vaccines. They're all either the Moderna or Pfizer. It doesn't seem like any of this is like the Johnson & Johnson vaccines from anywhere I can find. But the Moderna and Pfizer made up like the majority of the vaccines people took. And they are the ones with mRNA. I don't think the Johnson & Johnson one, or at least the first one, had mRNA. I'm not entirely sure. Pat, you could, feel free to check me on that. But all that said, she's had these complications, which is awful enough. But like that makes me mad. That should make all of us mad, right? Like your government mandating you to do something in your life, and someone like a mother, at 37, her entire life is altered beyond repair. And rather than offering to compensate her after like receiving like the records and the evidence of everything, the Canadian government has offered her not once but doubled down on offering to assist her in suicide. It's abbreviated as MAID, which is what does it stand for?
I was looking it up. It looks like it's medical aid in dying is what it stands for.
Yeah, and like they're essentially telling her, she's trying to get payments for this, and they're like, well, that's gonna be really expensive, and honestly your quality of life's pretty bad, so how about we just help you die? Like, we could just assist you in having a peaceful passing. That way it doesn't cost us any money. You don't have to spend your life being in a wheelchair. And now it's just like, this has to be a fucking book. Like this, it's hard for me to imagine that this isn't a movie. Like the federal government of Canada is just saying, hey, yeah, we're at fault for that. And rather than pay you justly, how about we just put the pillow over your face? No. Are you sure you don't want to do that? All right, well, let's talk about the pay, the cost a little bit more. All right, well, before we pay you, are you sure you don't want us just to like inject you and kill you? You know what I mean? Like, this is the fact that this is even a conversation right now makes me think, like, how far are we away before it's not a choice? And I know that sounds so doom and gloom, but guys, 50 years ago, there was no government in the world that was a first world country looking to better the existence of all of its people, considering like, oh yeah, we should provide medically assisted suicide. Like the countries that were doing that were countries that were unstable, couldn't afford to keep the sick alive, and they had philosophies in their governments that were like, the sick are a disease. It is better to like euthanize them than to try to treat them. You know what I mean? And like those are the countries and things that like we've always tried to steer clear of. And like now that this is like in Canada, I'm just like, bro, like you gotta. Why are people not asking like that question of like how long until they just start not having it be a choice? Like how expensive do I gotta get? Let's play the ballpark game on this. Right. If I can get up to $750 before they decide to like kill me, then maybe that's insane that we could even be having that conversation.
Right. And or if there's when it comes to like socialized medicine, if it's a thing of like you've become a societal burden. So there's no longer like
socialized medicine with like, oh, it's gonna take too long to treat you. By the time we have the bandwidth to treat you because of your place in line, your quality of life is gonna be so bad that like we might as well just off you now, so that way we can shorten the line and save who we can save. Yeah, it's like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, it's not like it's like. And one thing that was reported in here too that I thought was interesting prior to them offering her the assisted suicide was she went to the doctor like with paralysis, and the first doctor said that they thought she was faking and that it was a psychiatric incident. And then it said that she said later another doctor whispered in my ear and said, I think there's something wrong with you and I don't think you're faking. Like, so just the fact that even like this other doctor had to like
can't just outright say it.
Yeah, has to like to protect themselves from the mind virus.
Canada is freaking fallen, dude.
And so like it's just it's whatever your thoughts on like getting the vaccine, getting boosters, that sort of thing, like on this back end of it, just the fact that it's they're kind of even offering or also pushing someone towards this decision.
Just like gaslighting.
Yeah, it's
Can you dude, imagine any other kind of like medical situation where it's like, someone comes in like, all right, I was raped. I'm pretty sure this person raped me, but I was on drugs. But here's like everything I got that kind of lines up, and like the doctor be like, I don't think you were raped. I think you're making it up. And then another doctor having to be like quietly and can't disclose it in front of anyone else. Be like, look, I believe you. Okay, I'll help you. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy. We'd be losing our minds at that, right?
Right. Yeah, there'd be people would be upset about it, and so she denied the kind service they offered to provide her.
No thanks, I don't want to die.
But she's kind of able to manage her life with some treatments and things, but she is paralyzed from the neck down and has some use of her of like a hand, a little bit. It's like move a wheelchair or something. But yeah, super scary stuff. And the condition that she had was called it's called transverse myelitis, which is when the part of your spinal cord is inflamed. And so that was from this, and kind of I was looking into it because I do hear about people having complications from getting injections and paralysis in certain parts of their body. And I was wondering if it was the same thing, but the more common thing that is super rare is called ulnar neuropathy, which is where the nerve in your shoulder where they shoot it gets damaged, causing paralysis. I mean, it can lead to nerve damage and like a long-term paralysis in that part of your body. And actually, I knew a guy who was going to be a pentathlete. He was going to be the pentathlete. That's a super cool one. I think that's the one where they do fencing, and then what are all the ones on it? It's fencing and running, but then it's also
biking, swimming.
It's pistol shooting and horse jumping and swimming. But like this is kind of cool. Swords, horses, shooting.
Yeah, kind of real Renaissance man.
Yeah, it's a cool sport. And so, anyways, Olympic bound, but went in to get I think it was super normal, like something like a flu shot or whatever type of thing, and just paralyzed kind of in the chest and shoulder and arm down, and that was it for him.
Oh my gosh,
didn't get to
dude.
go. So, by the way, which is why lots of people know this, but you always get your shots in your non-dominant side of your body.
I didn't know that.
So like whenever I go in and get a shot, I'm left-handed, so I'm always like right shoulder, like every time. And
I mean, that makes sense. They always put it in my left.
Yeah, typically they do. And that's the thing, if you're a righty, they're usually that's just how they do it. They put it in your left arm. But so you got to be watching out for that. And like, especially when I did get my COVID vaccine, I was like very much like, this side, please. Like, I don't know what's about to happen to me.
Dude, all right, so I got a lot of articles here about this, though, just because I follow a guy named Dr. John Campbell. He's great. He has we've talked about it before, but Dr. John Campbell, he's got, all these studies he references in his videos about, the excessive deaths in correlation to the increased amount, COVID vaccines and vaccinations. And that the excessive deaths align more with the rate of vaccines in countries than they do in with the rate of COVID in countries. And like mRNA, he's like part of a band of physicians and, other doctors who are anti-mRNA vaccines because of like all the risk associated with it that's coming out. But while I'm pulling these up right here, Pat, I was just wondering, like, did you have any negative side effects when you got the COVID vaccine, like that were like more than just what you experienced getting the flu?
No, just kind of normal, like a little bit, nothing really besides like a little bit of elevated heart rate and kind of feeling hot. But I had buddies who like, I had one friend who was down for the count for like a week.
Really?
Just being like sick with it,
Dude, the Johnson & Johnson one gave me like all body chills and aches for like about a day and a half before I was back to normal. All right, so looking at our world in data here, tracking excess mortality, deaths from all causes compared to average over previous years. We've seen like on average an excess of like in 2020 was 87% higher on average in Western countries than it was in years previous. In 2021, it was 89%. In 2022, it was 91%. And we're going up like consistently. Really? Yeah. Like excess deaths, which is measuring like it's summing all causes together and essentially just saying like, hey, like, can we identify differences from year to year that would align with why we're seeing excess deaths? It's pretty much being found primarily like countries that didn't have a large amount of vaccination, but also had high rates of COVID or similar rates of COVID, are not experiencing the excessive deaths. The excessive deaths are almost primarily amongst countries that had high levels of not just vaccination, but high recidivism. Recidivism might not be the proper word, but like just high levels of getting the boosters. And nations where like people didn't get the booster, they had like almost no compliance, their death rate is remaining normal. And when we're not in a time of war, right? Like everyone's like, okay, why are we having almost 100% more fatalities 3 years after COVID? Now 2023 data and 2024 data is still coming out, being calculated. And like these are medical documents from like PubMed, the NCBI, BMJ, Public Health. So like all of this is like coming from like very thorough, articulate, like white paper websites for medication research or medical research. And so like they don't just publish this stuff willy-nilly. Right. But PubMed had this published here with Joseph Raymond, Juan Everti, Mark Jones, Sander Greenland, as well as several others. They're all doctors. But they began researching the results of Pfizer and Moderna mRNA COVID-19 vaccines and have identified that they're associated with an excess risk of serious adverse events of special interest ranging from 10.1 to 5.1 per 10,000, which if you think about it, you're like, oh, okay, well, that's not 10 to 15%. That's about 0.1 to 0.15% of people receiving the vaccine over the placebo are having serious adverse events. But then you think about like, okay, well, if we're mandating people to have these vaccines and these boosters, that means your odds are excessively climbing with each booster you get. And that overall as a population, everyone's chances are not just going from, 0.1 to 0.15% chance you might have a serious thing, but like you start multiplying that over and over and over, like your odds of becoming that affected group are increasing. It's got to like it's like the best way to think about it is like Russian roulette. Yeah. It's just like the chance of like click and bang the next time is getting higher. So all that said, the documents here too, like these aren't like hidden white papers. Like if you guys just Google like PubMed serious adverse events for mRNA COVID-19 vaccine, you can read the whole study here. Again, here's one from this was published in June 2024 from the Our World in Data estimates for January 20th to December 2022 of excess mortality across countries in the Western world. This one is like the summary of like all the data that you'll find in Our World in Data, but it's essentially reporting like across 47 countries in the Western world, there was almost 3.1 million excess deaths from January 2020 to December 2022. So almost in excess of another 1.25 million dead each year, which a lot of people like you ask any Joe Blow on the street, like, how many people do you think die in America a year? And they're like, I don't know, like 10 million. And it's like, no, dog, it's not even close to that. Like that is so extreme. It's like we're looking at usually around like 1 million or so people like just dying a year across like like if you're averaging out, I guess, in relation to like population size. At least that was, that's probably actually a little old. It's probably a little bit higher that as our population has grown. But there's pretty much a ratio, right? Dude, an extra like 3.1 across these countries is pretty big, especially when you think like 47 Western countries. Like a lot of those countries don't have populations larger than like maybe 500,000. Right. A lot of those countries are pretty small, and their entire country population might be 1 million, right? So we're looking at some serious stuff, and like the percentages put it into perspective, right? Like a 91% increase. That's, you're almost 100% over the usual trend. That's a lot. That's essentially almost equivalent to like doubling. So all that said, that's like all this has been essentially seen as being associated with the vaccines and the boosters, because it's not like being seen in other countries that didn't have the same rate. And you can find a lot of documentation on these other doctors' websites. Like they're very adamant. They will show their graphs and the history of like what the trends are. But Kirsch, Substack by Dr. Stephen Kirsch, he let me double check that. I think he is, if I understand correctly, he was being interviewed. I'm pretty sure he's a doctor, but he doesn't say in his title, in his bio, as a doctor. So maybe he's not a doctor. But he, he writes about COVID mitigation policies, vaccines, corruption, censorship, and early treatments. Data shows that vaccines are ruining the health of Americans and driving the epidemic in a variety of health conditions. So definitely check out, his stuff, as well as React 19. This is my like PSA. If you or anyone is having adverse side effects as a result to what you believe is the COVID-19 vaccine, look up react19.com. You can essentially get involved to take a survey where the University of Maryland, Baltimore will review your survey results, and then if they believe there might be a case for you having adverse side effects and serious health issues due to the vaccine results, or the vaccine or boosters, then you can be a part of like the study where they observe you. And they are, first ever patient-led research collaborative by the vaccine injured for the vaccine injured. Their whole objective is to make sure, like, if you've been injured by the vaccine, you get proper compensation and, coverage for your expenses and reparations. But they're also very thorough with it. So, like, if you're just like, yeah, I've noticed I have a runny nose all the time, they're not gonna like, good luck. Right. They're not gonna spend much time on you because they're very thorough about the cases they do. But anyways, React 19, if you know anyone, react19.org, if you know anyone or you yourself want to look into that. But all right. So as of April 1st, 2024 as well, there's been 10,000 claims alleging injury or death from a COVID-19 shot that have been filed with the Countermeasures Injury Compensation Program, according to the HHS. That's pretty big, dude.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big amount. And it's like specifically, I think that's specifically in reference just to AstraZeneca.
Right. And like, yes, that is percentage wise, like going to be super low. Right.
Sure.
Because like some of the articles I'm reading too is like CDC saying things like, it is extremely rare to have a side effect from the vaccine. It's like, well, yeah, it is extremely rare. Also, it's happening.
Yeah.
Like it's
happening a lot more than you said it was going to.
Right. Because like saying extremely rare is not putting a factual data point to it. Right.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of these people like that are making these claims are people who would not have been seriously
affected by COVID.
And so it's kind of like we're like passing the buck from like, oh, get the vaccine so that way people who could be injured, like, harmed by like getting COVID are less likely to get it. And like, it's like, shouldn't they just get the vaccine?
Right. Like one of the main groups that does experience issues is young men and
29
and then male adolescents, and male adolescents, male young adults. And it's like, that's the group that had no problem
no problem with COVID at all. Yeah,
right? But instead they're having some serious heart issues and things, and so it's the
increased level of like excess deaths among young people with heart disease is like crazy. Like that one in particular, like exploded. Especially like there was something like South Korea, like the excess deaths of heart disease in South Korea for people in their 20s was like, okay, young men's hearts are exploding, and no one knows why. And it was like, yeah, it's not like, you know, a crowd of dudes are dropping dead one day, but it's just like when you're like, think about it this way, like
kimchi doesn't give you heart failure.
Yeah, exactly. And like if you're like 1 in every 10,000 men are between 20 to 29 are dying of like premature heart disease and excess. And like you're looking at that demographic and you're realizing like,
and they weren't before,
especially in a place like South Korea where like obesity is not like a thing. Right. And you're just like, oh shit, wait a second. Like that's kind of alarming. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What's a common thing that may be causing this?
Yeah. So anyways, that's all. That's my soapbox. I'm not saying it's a scam. I'm not saying it's a, conspiracy to like reduce our population. What I am saying is like I think there's malpractice, and I think there's a lot of doctors who are now getting confident enough to speak out about it and be like, this is wrong. Patients need representation. A lot of checks and balances were not adhered to when these vaccines were rolled out. And I think we're just honestly at the beginning of it. I genuinely think over the next 10 years, we're going to see some like insane lawsuits. Like, could be as big as the opioid epidemic lawsuits. And I know like a lot of people, that's not recent enough on their mind for them to really remember. But like, we're talking like, I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of like $500 million paid out, which it's nothing compared to what these companies make, for their shares and all that, shareholders, but that's still a pretty big lawsuit.
Oh yeah. We'll see where it goes, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the, speaking of, there are huge conspiracy theories all around COVID, vaccine, all these things. There's been some theories around the these opening ceremonies.
Oh yes,
of the Olympic Games, and so this last Saturday, whatever, they had it was long. The Olympics. Great thing about the Olympics is the opening ceremonies. Has become one of these things where it's a chance for this country to show off all of its, pull out all the stops. What's the biggest show you can put on, theatrics, and showcase your country, special things about, your culture, your history, and your big performers, your big artists, and all these things.
I remember for the opening Beijing ones, we had been learning a lot about, just how insane CCP China was at that point. I was in like 8th grade, 7th grade. And I just remember like we had just learned about how brutal China was. We saw like, the Tiananmen Square, like history stuff. And the Beijing Olympics, I just remember the red circle for the Olympics. I think it was the red one. I'm sure we could watch it and find out, but like it didn't turn on for like the big reveal. I just remember being so sad. I was like, that man's dead. Like they literally, like I just like as a 7th or 8th grader, my heart sank and I was like, oh my God. Like I feel like I just watched a man die, because like I know whoever's responsible for that, like they're like, wow, like executing them like a little Beyonce. And it's just like, I just think about that all the time. Every opening ceremony, I'm like, I remember when that one guy messed up and like he's probably dead. His family got like kicked out of China.
Yeah. His generations will be thrown in jail for it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so people have been getting up in arms about the symbolism and the art that took place in the opening ceremonies, and the main one being this depiction of the Last Supper. So if you haven't seen it yet, during, I think it was at the very beginning, I don't know, it was 4.5 hours long, so I don't remember where it was at in there.
Yeah,
but
dude, ain't nobody got time for that either. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But sidebar real quick, Snoop Dogg was out there carrying the torch, which,
dude, that's a tall dude.
I love his. Somebody said the other day that like Snoop Dogg's just been on side quests since like 2001 or whatever.
It's true, though.
He's just doing everything. I love it. He's everywhere.
I just remember when he was like, I'm a Snoop Lion, and then he's like, I'm dialing that back. That was a little much.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. It's so great. But the this scene of the Last Supper, and and really being saying it's Last Supper, maybe stepping out too far, but it appears to be like was it Da Vinci that did that famous picture of the Last Supper?
I think it was a Leonardo da Vinci, yeah.
And so, but this version had a bunch of dudes dressed as ladies, dressed in drag, and people have kind of lost their marbles,
lost their damn minds.
Yeah. And did you have a conversation with anybody this week about it?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think I texted you saying like a couple people asked me for like my opinions on it. Mm-hmm. Like, what are your thoughts on this? And I think honestly, mostly people ask me because I've had a lot of interest in like prophecy and revelations in the Bible. Mm-hmm. Not because I think at all that I can predict when things are happening, right? Mm-hmm. I find it be a very convoluted, difficult subject to interpret, and I find that interesting. Like just that being a challenge. Mm-hmm. And so all that said, yeah, I had people talking to me about it, and my biggest thing, I guess, I don't know. Here's the thing. I didn't watch it because I wasn't even interested in the Olympics opening ceremony this year. I was like, I don't care. It'd probably be weird French stuff. And then it was weird French stuff. And I was like, okay, I didn't miss anything. And then everyone was like, did you see this? And I'm like, no, but I guess now I have to go watch like a highlight of it or something just so I can be a part of the conversation. And I think it's nothing burger. Like, and I mean, I know some people might not like that, but dude, I legit think it's just a nothing burger. It's one of those things of like, anyone could be offended by anything if they look around long enough to find a reason and they talk about it enough. But I most of all think that Christians, if we're walking the walk according to how Jesus tells us to, and we're expecting what Jesus tells us to expect, I think we are the demographic who should least cry out for an apology. Because if anything, if someone's really persecuting us, with really making a mockery and really trying to like rub our face in the poo, I mean, I truly believe that's an opportunity where Jesus is like, well, not, I guess these aren't Jesus' words, but Paul's words of, rejoice in suffering, like rejoice in it. And, honestly, like, Jesus' words, the world hated me first, surely it will hate you.
Yeah.
And so
kind of like comes with the deal.
Yeah. And I'm like, dude, why would you not rejoice in like fulfillment of Jesus's promises? You know what I mean? Like, if anything, it's just like validation of like what he said. So all that's like, here's what would have really offended me. Here's like, if I'm a Christian, one, like if it was intended to be the Last Supper, like I just like look at it, I'm like, gross. Like that is like, if it is that intention, disrespectful. But like, am I surprised? No. Do I expect an apology? Not at all. But if someone came up to me and they're like, hey man, I just want you, like, I know you're a Christian, and I thought about you when that happened and they were mocking your faith, and I think that's kind of mean, and I'm sorry that they did that. I'd be like, well, hey dude, thanks, I guess. Yeah, like, I don't really expect an apology, but I appreciate you thinking of me. I'd be, I'd think of it as considerate, but like I have no entitlement, I think. And I think that's the issue is like, if Christians go around with this entitled attitude of like, the world owes me an apology for how they persecute me, I don't think you're going to get very far with the message of Jesus. You know what I mean? So, I mean, but again, like I'm talking as a youngin' here who, the most intense persecution I've experienced in my life was people swearing and kind of throwing stuff at me. But, I've never had people like chase me out of town or try to stone me to death.
Right. For sure. And I think that for me, with what's happened here with the opening ceremony, and people have kind of jumped to the conclusion of it was a portrayal of the Last Supper. And I think that the fact that Christians need to be held accountable for the fact that, like, you got to know history. You need to know the classics, meaning like Greek mythology, meaning like where the Olympics come from. From Greece, and like
Olympians, because they're running to Mount Olympus,
right? And so with Greek gods and these things, and so part of the, the opening scene of this, what was called the Last Supper scene, was a blue guy, a
Smurf,
Smurf looking fella on a
Midsummer Smurf
on like a platter, but the if you know about history of the classics. That's Dionysus, the Greek god of
chaos,
of pleasure and wine and feasting, right?
And I think chaos,
and a little bit of that chaos too. But and like kind of like he embodies, getting drunk and having sex. Like that's what he does.
Yeah,
right?
Didn't he have sex with his mom?
I think you're thinking of Odysseus.
No, Odysseus did not have sex with his mom. That's the Odyssey.
No, not Odysseus. You're thinking of what's the is not no Odysseus. Now I've got that stuck in my head. It's
no, don't worry about it. I threw you off.
No, that's fine. But because it's a condition now. Oedipus. Yeah,
Oedipus. You're right.
Oedipus. But anyways, Dionysus. So like, it's this scene of bunch of it's like a feast, Dionysus feast of people dressed in drag. It's sexually charged. That's what a Dionysus feast would have been like it portrayed in the myths. And so I don't think it was a portrayal of the Last Supper or a jab at it. And like you said, even if it was, like, I just expect it. And like I don't get offended by, in some ways I don't get offended by anything. I should say I don't get like openly outraged, because I'm just offended by everything all the time. I take, if you're a Christian, there's lots of things to take offense to all the time, just outwardly right in your face. Now it's your reaction to it.
You know what I'm more offended by? That OnlyFans is just generally like the idea that a woman should sell her body and sexuality, or anyone should, is just generally accepted as like that's a healthy part of society nowadays. Like, that is more offensive to me than this, because that is like, to me, way more of a red flag of like our society.
Or like we were talking about earlier, like the smut novels.
The smut novels, yeah.
Like we could point to things all day long that are offensive to and antithetical to my like moral compass and what I believe about how the world should be. But then like this like kind of crazy outrage around it, and people calling all this end time stuff around it too. And funny thing is, technically we're just kind of always living in the end times, depending on what your perspective is on the whole deal, because and there was this pale horse riding up the river, and it was ominous looking, and there were a lot of things throughout all the performances that I did feel, I was like, that's ominous. I do not like that. But yeah,
I mean, like, I don't think I liked any part of the performance that I saw. Granted, I watched a 15-minute recap of it.
Right. And so like people are like, it's the pale horse. It's like the end times, like the horse that was death. And it's like, no, actually, like that's just the river goddess of, going up. It's the goddess of the Seine. The Seine River was the river,
which is supposed to be based off of the like sanctified version of Joan of Arc.
Yes. So basically it's Joan of Arc and this river goddess character riding up the Seine River, which is the river it was on. It was like very appropriate.
The woman also, I found out the woman who was riding it is like a member of the police. It's like the idea of like this protectorate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, don't get me wrong. It looked kind of weird. I thought the framing was really well done for what they were going for. I was like, wow, those wings look proportionally exactly for her and their wings on the Eiffel Tower.
And your kind of standard Western Christian doesn't have a lot of room in their room inside themselves for weird French art.
Yeah,
you know, like
they see they see a pale horse and they just hear the opening to. They don't even know the opening line to that. When the man comes around, Johnny Cash song.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know that like Johnny's just actually quoting Revelations. They're just like, oh, just like the Johnny Cash song, a pale horse.
Yeah, exactly. And like personally, I don't have a lot of room inside myself for weird French art.
Yeah, neither do I. I'm not a big what's that? Weimar fan. The whole like weird German European expressiveness that happened right before World War II and kind of took over out there.
Yeah,
it's a little too out there for my medulla oblongata.
Yeah, I don't get it. Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, that's okay that you feel uncomfortable about it, but maybe making too big of a deal of it and giving it too much attention. And also, I don't want just like the opening ceremonies of the Olympics. I want to watch that with my kids, and I don't want it full of like drag queens and weird stuff. And
because here's the thing, bro. No one ever dresses in drag that's like modest or like not gonna like confuse kids like who don't know. Like
they're just dressed like Hillary, like pantsuit. I'm just out here in a pantsuit.
Yeah, no, like Kamala Harris. Like, like, can't you tell that I'm drag?
Exactly.
It's like, and like that's the biggest thing is like, for some reason, drag has to be, in order to understand its drag, it requires like an extreme visual and performance. Which, I don't know. I'm sure there's someone out there right now who's like, actually, if you watch drag whatever, like, show, you'd see they wear, like, modest women dresses and clothes all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay. Then why don't they do that on the freaking Olympics? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's undertones or overtones of erotica around drag for sure.
And you could easily make the argument, too, though. Like, here's the thing. I'm trying to be devil's advocate to just be like, it's not worth being pissed off about because it's like, this whole week has been just the gymnastics, and like that's when young boys are like, girls have butts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Dude, you know what I'm saying though?
Yeah.
And so it's like one of those things that's just like you could be like, well, the Olympics aren't that modest when it comes to like just the way the athletes are dressed anyways.
For sure. And I'm not that interested in the Olympics this year because the Russians aren't in it. And they only sent like 20. They only sent like over 200. So it's like, I'm like, because that's our chance to always stick it to the Ruskies,
Yeah, I would prefer to beat the Russians and Chinese and the Koreans, North Koreans, in the Olympics rather than in war. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like everyone remembers Miracle on Ice.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like everyone knows what it was like to either see it live or watch that movie the first time and understand history and know that America beat Russia at hockey.
Oh, yeah.
And Russia was like, this is bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that's a great movie. I'm going to rewatch that movie.
Just watch that.
Kurt Russell's freaking great, dude.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
Yeah.
For sure, a classic.
But I don't, at the end of the day, right? There are other people I know that were talking about like the golden bull head that was up there behind things being like the beast, and that golden bull's head statue was like built back in like 2016, and it's been around, and it wasn't built to be the beast; it's built to be like a symbol of something else. Like, look, you know what? Also, I just don't give two shits. Here's the thing, man. You want to know the real thing? Here, get ready. Here's where it gets real dark. I kind of want them to be more satanic. You know, just get on with it.
Yeah.
I'd be down for Jesus to come back in my day in life. You know what I mean? Like, go ahead. And if they're going to be like, well, we're going to start doing baby sacrifices, I'll be like, all right, well, I guess I am going to try to stop that. But, it's kind of one of those things of like, I want, as a Christian, I want God's plan to come into fruition. I trust in his plan and all that. And part of that plan, like part of that prophecy is like, look, people will choose to turn further and further away from God as times get worse and times get closer to the return of Christ. And it's not even like God doesn't say, well, I'm going to make people more bad. It's just, this is just a result of a fallen world. Just diverges further. part of the truth of that is like scripture says, like also for you Christians, like you're going to be in a place that's pretty morally difficult because you're going to see like, you're going to be expectant. You'll see the signs to come and you'll have an idea that the end times are kind of coming, right? You'll be expectant for Christ's return. At the same time, you're going to be morally in a place where you have to choose to try to like object to what the culture's doing. And it could be, to your detriment, right? Like, and so I'm not saying we're there yet. I think we have a long ways to go because like there's supposed to be widespread famine. And I'm like, I don't know that many Christians starving right now in America. And that's supposed to be happening before the return of Christ. So all that said, I'm like, I don't know, bring it on. Just let's get the ball rolling. Fast forward.
All sorts of, and I just, like you said, I'm just not surprised when I see things of the world be worldly.
Yeah. Ooh, wow.
It's just like,
it's kind of like one of those things where people like are outraged that when they're like, they're like, so do you approve premarital sex and like open relationships and non-monogamous relationships? I'm like, no. And they're like, I'm like, what were you expecting?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the same thing. Yeah. Whenever the guys, the president of Focus on the Family gets interviewed about like, what's your stance on this? Or like, what a religious leader, what's your stance on this? They're like, I have a traditional Christian stance on this. And then, they're unhinged.
Gasp.
Yeah, exactly. Same way it works the both ways, It's like, so.
I will say this though. I have a philosophy. This is my kind of joking and stone right. But I have a philosophy in that like we should try to eliminate evil misrepresentations of faith. Like we should try to root out and eliminate, evil people in Christianity who are going to be misrepresenting Christianity, right? Even a classic example, pedophiles in positions of leadership. I think we should do this. I think we should start doing the same for like, I think the world should start doing the same for like radical Islam. I would have loved to see a depiction of Muhammad at the Olympics this year.
Oh, yeah.
And would love to see all of the reactions to that. You know what I mean? Because here's the thing also, like, regardless of if it was Christian, like mocking the Last Supper in Christianity or not, right? Don't care. But if it was, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Some like entitled Christians are going to screech and cry about an apology and, people need to apologize or they're going to not watch it. But no one's like, oh my gosh, these Christians might start going into villages and just executing people in protest.
Right. Yeah.
These Christians might go to like the news companies that were depicting, the Last Supper that way and just shoot everybody in the news offices. It's like, truth is, there's only one group that we worry about that does that.
Yep.
And there's a reason why that's never depicted in anything. But I'm saying do it. Depict it. Let the rats come out of the woodwork. Because they'll come out. The rats will come out. The evil, bad people will come out. And then just sweep it up, Sweep it up. And then be like, all right, so we got rid of all the ones who are going to like legit think it's okay to murder people. And we'll move on. And all of the Muslims who aren't radical will be like, and nothing was lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're better off for it. So anyways, that's my opinion. I'm borderline like, I'm at a point now where
just
I'm
anarchist.
I'm at a point now where I'm just like, why not just put it up on a web page? Like just like come find me. And like like why not just draw like a doodle of it, put it up on the internet and be like, come find me, here's the address. And then like just wait there for people to show up.
Just see what happens.
Yeah.
You don't know till you try.
No kidding, bro. That'd be some pretty cowboy shit.
Yeah. No, there's definitely it's like in jest. It's like but for real,
it like, is in jest, but like, yeah. I mean, it's just like
people are afraid to,
Do you remember the response to Charlie Hebdo?
Oh yeah.
The Texas response. They got a bunch of artists together in a convention in Texas.
Oh yeah.
That started drawing it, and they did pull the rats out. 2 rats in Texas came out, and they're like, we're going to shoot all these people up. And they rolled up and they got smoked by a security guard and an off-duty cop. They didn't even make it past the parking lot. One, I was like, ballsy move there, thinking you're going to roll up to a Texas convention and smoke people. but it worked, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, I don't know. Imagine this though. Imagine a movie. I think this is a really untapped market. Imagine a movie where some people who are very upset about a depiction of Muhammad decide to pick up guns and go like kill the people depicting Muhammad in this way.
Mm-hmm.
And they arrive to a warehouse and they're like, yeah, it's apparently a bunch of people in that warehouse running servers and printers, and they're like behind all this.
Mm-hmm.
And they go in, and it's actually just a saw like
no.
maze, and it's just like, let's play a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like we just see like that'd be pretty interesting juxtaposition, I think. You know?
Oh yeah, for sure. And just the fact of making that movie.
Would it be insanity? It would be so dangerous.
Would do
be
what
the
you're
most
talking
risky
about.
thing in the world.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay. Anyways, all that said, extremism is a disease, in my opinion, and it ruins everything it touches. And I mean that not just in the concept of like one religion or another. I think like, you know, it makes me disgusted to see like ecological extremism and them throwing shit all over paintings and you know ruining things for everybody.
Yep.
So anyways, that's my opinion. Get rid of all the extremist rats.
Yeah, extremism leads to a dark path, and we see it everywhere. We see it in people in whatever ideology, races, religions, you name it, and take the pendulum too far to one side, and it's not good. Not good at all.
Well, anyways, thanks for joining us, Ken, for the Make It Pat show. A nice little return to form here. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you take a moment to breathe. Just reflect on anything that you feel really upset about and ask, like, is this actually something worth being upset about? You know, truth is like a lot of things that we spend a lot of time being angry about aren't really harmful to, like, you know, people's actual physical safety and health. We could think like, oh, you know what? That's inappropriate content, or I don't want my family being, you know, seeing that or consuming that content, and I want to, you know, I'm afraid of like, you know, the conversations that might lead to. Whatever. That's all fine and dandy, but like, if you want to get mad about governments legit offering suicide rather than like actual pain for people they wronged. You know, get mad about things that like you can make a stance on and be like, people are being harmed and this is not right. Yeah. So anyways, all that said, hope that you took time to reflect this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. And Pat, anything else for sign off?
Till next time. Thanks for tuning in. If you love this episode, drop us a review. If you have qualms or comments, leave us a voicemail on our website. While you're there, check out our latest news, merch, and deals from our sponsors. Till next time, Ken.